Today will be the 6th Lightroom tutorial and we'll be looking at this photo here. This is Kimetsu no Yaiba, Kanjiro and cosplayed by Haori, and this is one of her casual artwork. So we'll be doing from the left to the right. As you can see, the left is a little bit underexposed, under the set, but the right is properly done. So let's take a look at this photo here. I'm Richard and welcome to ZP Productions. As I said, today will be a tutorial of this shot here. Now, this shot is done with my GFX 100 and it's shot with the 45 to 100. I believe this is about 80mm equivalent on full frame. So you have the nice, a little bit of creamy bokeh, but not too exaggerated because this is just a f2.8 aperture if I'm not wrong. The setting itself is a bit cloudy and the cloud is to my right, and you can see that there is some hot spots on the top here and a little bit here, but on general it's a cloudy day, so there is no harsh shadows. So let's take a look at this edit and how is it done. Especially for a cloudy day, you need to really boost certain colors to make it look good. So in Lightroom, as I said, this is from the left to the right, and that's what we are going to achieve. So to do this, I will create a virtual copy. In fact, I already created one virtual copy here, and I will do the editing from there. So go through with me the tutorial, and just to note that if you want the file and the preset itself, there is a link down there, but you need to go and find the password in the center of my tutorial here and at the end. So both these passwords combined will allow you to unlock the link below. But for now, go through this tutorial with me and I bring you through my understanding of how to edit this in Lightroom. So under the develop section, you just reset everything and then just go to a single view, and this is what you get. You get this really desaturated photo that not really appealing in any ways. So we are going to do the edit now. Okay, so the first step usually I will do is I will just do a bit of white balancing, and then I just introduce a bit of warmth because just now that one was a bit too cool for me. And you notice there's some green tone, so I'm going to add a little bit of pink first before we start. Okay, these numbers can be rectified later, but normally I start with a more decent baseline. And this is a bit underexposed. So why do I underexpose my shot? Do click on the link up there, and that is on the dynamic range talk that I have. And this dynamic range talk is really important because it will help you to expose your shot properly so that you maximize your camera latitude. So this is a GFX 100, so it has a lot of latitude, so one stop underexposed is perfectly fine. And I'll just expose it back about one stop so that you get all the colors, and you can also retrieve the colors in the highlights, especially in the water, which will usually get overexposed quite easily. So now that I have done the base one so that I can edit it easier, the first thing I'll do before I actually do any color editing is to crop it properly first because it'll be more pleasing to the eye. So I just remove the top and then we are done. So go all the way to the bottom here, and really to enhance the skin tone, the easiest way normally is to push the blues and push the green and then reduce the red itself. Now the exact value is probably in the preset below. Just follow this value. This is just rough values because the exact value will change usually based on the photo itself. So it'll be better for me to explain to you why I do it rather than you copy exactly the numbers. So by increasing blue more and then just increasing the green slightly while reducing the red does introduce a nice skin tone that is more orangey and less reddish. So that is something that I noticed throughout my editing experience. And also just dropping the hue and blue slightly, just really maybe like say 19 or 20, will introduce back some of the red tones to the skin, and then just shift the hue for the red tones just slightly to the right, will introduce back the orange and remove the red tones just a little bit. So now the shot in terms of color is probably the skin tone I like, and then I'll probably move up now and do the rest of the edit itself. So for contrast, normally I skip it first. I will do the highlights first because I want to retrieve all the details in the water. So it'll be a little bit more reduce about 80 plus 90, and then I will increase the shadows a bit. Now shadows, as I say, do not increase too much because it will look very, I think, washed out look. So around 20 plus will be fine with me. And then for this shot, because I want it to be more daylight, even though it's cloudy, we want to introduce back more contrast. And one of the ways is to actually shift the white to the right. It will crunch the whole color a bit, and then it gives it a bit more appealing, more daylight feel. And then for the blacks, I also, same thing, I'll move to the left, and this will crunch the black a bit to give it a little bit more contrast, but not overwhelming in numbers. Okay. For texture wise, it's really up to you. I introduced a little bit of texture for this shot itself, but I think it's not necessary. It's really up to you. But for clarity, it's the same thing. It's the macro contrast. Up to you also. But for the dehaze, I want it to be a bit more, I would say, as a magical feel, I think, because it's anime. So I just shifted the dehaze a little bit more, about 25 will be just nice. So moving down to the next one, there is the vibrance and the saturation. Saturation, as I say, increases and the intensity of all colors, while vibrance mainly deal with the muted colors like it's the blue here and the skin tone. Well, you notice that the pink is quite strong in color, so Vibrance actually will not shift it much. So let me show you how. So this shot, I want it to be really vibrant. As you can see earlier, there's really vibrant, really strong blues, nice skin tones, and then that's what we're exactly going to do. We're going to increase to 60 plus, and then we drop saturation slightly, just really slightly, so that you get a little bit more anime style look where the skin tone is a bit more whitish rather than going into the pink and very orange tone that usually you see in modeling photos. Then for the curve itself, I will skip it first because I will probably deal with it later after my HSL. So for the hue itself, is really up to you. There is really not much to shift. The only thing I will shift in this HSL is the water itself because I didn't want the water to be teal. It's not the aim of this shot. It's okay to be teal, in fact, it's pretty okay, but I wanted it to be blue, so I can just shift the blue hue slightly to the right, and that will probably solve the water color itself. Then I want the water to be really more outstanding, so I'm going to increase the saturation of the water. Both aqua and blue normally will control the saturation of the water. You need to shift both of them together. If you just shift one, it becomes really weird and patchy. Okay, so for the skin tone itself, it's up to you whether you want a bit more orange, less orange. For this, because we really remove the saturation and increase the vibrance, I just a little bit more color will do, because this is important when we do the next step, which is actually the luminance. So to get just now the shot we can see here, which is this really nice whitish bright skin, we're going to actually increase the luminance of the skin significantly. So it's about, I think, 40, and then these two. So skin tone, as I say in many of my tutorials, is mainly in the orange tone and the yellow tone. Sometimes it has the red tone also, and by shifting all this bar with more emphasis on the orange tone, you get this really nice vibrant skin that you have in the photos. It's like glowing type of look that you may want in the shot itself. Now, for the other colors, right, I would say as I increase the purple, but that's because sometimes skin tones lie in the purple, so you get a more even look. Just increase it slightly like the red and the yellows will do. And for the blue itself, because I want it to be daylight, so the blue cannot be muted in terms of its intensity. So I'm going to increase the blue so that it looks like, it's going to get overexposed type of feel, but it's not overexposed. You can see the blue and details, and that's exactly the feel we want. So now we really have, if you look at this shot here, which is the edited one, and this shot here, so there is some difference, and the difference means lie in the water, but the skin tone, everything pretty much is okay. So let us shift the blue. Maybe I just increase too much brightness, or should I increase more saturation? And let's take a look at how it turns out. So we compare the shot again. Okay. So really it's up to you whether you want how much blues you want. So if you want really a lot of blues, just reduce it all to the left. And if not, just keep it roughly around here. It will do so. So it's really up to you for the blues. Sometimes I'll shift it to the right, as I say, if I want to make it look more daylight-like. If not, I just keep it at 0, or shift it to the left if I want it to be more blue, intense, like the sea. But sometimes intense blue looks very fake, so I'll just keep it to 0 maybe, or just reduce it slightly. Based on my preset, actually I reduce it slightly, but based on this tutorial, I think it's up to you. Okay, so now we go back to curve, and the curve job is actually to do certain thing like crunch the highlight, or crunch the shadows, or bring up the shadow so that it looks a bit more faded like film. And actually that's what we wanted in this shot itself, so I just shift the tail end up a bit. And you notice the whole shot also turns slightly brighter, but it actually fades a little and gives you this really film-like effect. So I just raise it slightly, and then from the center here, I pull it down. So I bring back a little bit of contrast, yet I still maintain the faded look, especially in the shadow regions. Okay. And then let me go all the way up here and contrast again. You just adjust a little bit here and there to the feel you want. So there is a little bit different when you're adjusting contrast here and adjusting in the curve. I find that you adjust here, it retains the color better, while curves kind of destroy the color. So if you decrease or increase the contrast in the curve itself, it looks either faded or very crunchy, while increase and decreasing contrast here will still maintain the color, yet gives you this really strong differential look from the different colors and from the dark and light. So let me increase the contrast just slightly here, and okay, that is fine. Now, the last part is to know whether you have overexposed, underexposed your skin. And as I say, rule of thumb, if this is daylight shot, this skin should be around 80 to 90. So in this case, if I move my mouse around, yes, it's 80 to 90, so it's perfectly fine. And if not, just shift the exposure a bit, and you get the brightness you want. Usually I'll keep it below 90, because over 90 will result in a really overexposed look, which some people may not want it in their shots. So let's take a look again at the skin, and then we move the mouse around. Yes, it's about 88, 90, 90, 88. Okay, that is great. So just remember that when you're looking at these numbers, you're looking at the red at the corner below the histogram. So the red cannot breach 90. If you breach 90, there is something wrong. Normally, for most of the shots, your red will be the highest, then followed by green and blue. Whether the green is higher or blue is higher depends on what kind of skin tone you want. But on general, red must be the highest because that is where predominantly all the skin tone colors are. And that's about it for today's Lightroom tutorial. So as I said once again, the password probably for the back part is going to appear soon. And you can actually download the files below, download the preset to use it exactly the way you want. And as I said, you can also use the file to edit so they can get the same effect. But if not, I hope you learned something from this and also some of the logic of why I edit the color this way to get the shot I want. Today's shot is a bit more, I would say it's natural in terms of look. So the white balance never shift too much, and mainly is to really bring out the skin tones, especially in a cloudy day. Now, just to note, presets are not universal. Cloudy day presets do not work on sunny days, and sunny days presets do not work in the morning and may not work in the evening too. So depending on your time of day, the whether is it cloudy or bright sunlight, it really changes, and it's always better to know how a preset is done rather than just applying the preset itself. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time. Do like and subscribe if you want more of such tutorial. If not, I will see you again. Bye bye.